Today, we're going to talk a lot about building growth systems with NAN and using NAN to actually accelerate the growth of your small to medium sized business. And then we're also going to talk about overcoming imposter syndrome.
Today, we are sitting down with Simon Coton, the founder of Scrapes.ai, an AI automation academy that has helped over 100,000 builders. In this episode, we walk through this workflow that takes a topic from a content calendar, uses AI to generate LinkedIn posts, and routes everything through a human review approval system, and then publishes automatically. And yes, we're giving this workflow away so that you can see exactly how it's built and adapt it to your own content engine.
What a lot of people don't understand when they're starting out is how important brand voice is in this whole process.
Talk to me about how you've experienced imposter syndrome.
As long as I'm better than the person who's actually hiring me at this thing, then I'm good enough. Google as an authority want to see that you are an authority on a certain topic, and the way they see that is interlinked content.
When you analyze the performance of your video, what are you doing on the innate inside?
So actually having those touch points means that we can have somebody work at a much higher leverage and much higher rate.
What other systems have you built out? What part is human creation of the ad versus what part is not?
So I actually made a loss, 12 hours wasted time and minus $6 was the outcome.
Are you using AI to analyze that ad, or how do you break down the components of that ad? Simon, thank you so much for being here, brother. I'm excited to have you on the show. People that are going to be listening to this are going to want to get value from this episode. So what is the value that people are going to get by listening to this episode?
Yeah, so today we're going to talk a lot about building growth systems with NAN and using NAN to actually accelerate the growth of your small to medium sized business. And then we're also going to talk about overcoming imposter syndrome.
Yes, I know there's always this evolution when you either new to something technical or trying to step into a role of running your own business and delivering technical services. There's a sense of being an imposter that is sometimes these hidden barriers that will get in your way. Unfortunately, we don't have nodes that spin inside our body to tell us where we're erring out. Looking forward to diving into this, man. So let's talk about this a little bit in terms of growth systems. How would you define a growth system first?
Yeah, a growth system is any sort of system you pull together that helps you accelerate the growth of your business. So if you run a business already, you'll be quite familiar with the ways that you try and grow your business. So that might be through paid advertising, outreach to clients, social media marketing, and everything that's like marketing to try and get more people or more traffic looking at your business, whether that's paid or organic.
So let's dive into this. You do run a YouTube channel. I know you run a community as well where you teach these things out. We'll probably be pulling in some lessons of things that you've built and things that your community have built. So let's dive into it. Let's start from easiest to hardest. Let's try this journey. A simple growth system that someone could implement into their company. What would that look like? Is it social media marketing? Is it SEO? What do you got?
Yeah, at the simplest end of the scale, it's using something like ChatGPT to just augment the work you're already doing. So if you're posting on LinkedIn, for example, it would just be using ChatGPT to actually type it in, paste in your posts, reformat this post, make it sound more persuasive, make it fit my brand, make it fit my copy.
It's like level one using Chat.
Level one, yeah. The next level is actually building a system. So I'd call that like an explorer, like somebody that's interested in ChatGPT, but doesn't quite understand how to get past ChatGPT. So something that we're teaching in the community and on the YouTube is how do you get past that level of, I know what ChatGPT does and I've seen the limitations of it, but how do I turn that into an actual system that can run without me? And that's where something like NAN comes in, because you can go from that level one, where it's like I'm typing something into ChatGPT, to level two, where it's actually, I don't need to type in anything anymore. Actually, on Monday morning, I'm just going to get a list of content that's produced by NAN. So it might have my tone of voice in the back end, helping it put out good content. But actually, what we're doing is just putting some automation, some level of automation in there that replaces our manual steps of going to ChatGPT and copying and pasting. But at that point, you're still not reaching the point where you're actually automating the posting. That's level 3. So as you build these out, you go from that level where you don't have any automation at all and everything is manual apart from a bit of ChatGPT interaction, to the point where you've moved it into a system like NAN, where you actually have that connectivity between actually, I'm no longer pasting it in, I'm getting ideas fed to me and I'm just supervising it, to the point where you connect it then to your end platform like LinkedIn, and actually the whole sequence is done and you are there to just approve it. So we focus heavily on like human in the loop, even on that level 3.
Got it. So let's look at the system here, right? So it sounds like we have a system that will grab content online and pull those things into Ideate to give you a list of possibilities. And then you have a human in the loop that reviews the content and then creates the post for LinkedIn. Is that how that works? So talk me through it.
Yeah, that's effectively how it works at a high level. But I guess the complexity comes in where you have multiple levels of ideas. So I could be looking at other creators in the space that are producing content on LinkedIn and actually want to emulate their ideas in my own brand voice and in my own style with my own content. Or I could be looking at the latest news. So for me, that would be AI automation news. For a friend that I've got, it's pet. How do I say this? Basically, e-commerce might be looking at separate things, right? So we have like news, we have our own ideas, we have other people's posts. Lots of different complexity comes in from where you add those input ideas. But if you build it in a modular way, we basically have the idea or the idea generation into content in our brand voice, posted on our social media.
And it sounds like also in terms of content creation, there's a couple of different sources. One, you can look at other content creators. 2, you can look at news sources of anything in the media.
Yeah.
And maybe 3, there's something other, maybe other types of cross posts or something that might be adjacent.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. And so you have the ideation and then you have the brand voice. And then inside the brand voice with the creations, are you generating like primary posts, like text posts, image posts, video posts, or?
Yeah, a bit of both actually. So like the importance here and what a lot of people don't understand when they're starting out is how important brand voice is in this whole process. So something like NAN, when you're using the tools, you can build in a complete brand guide into your prompt. So that has the context to relate to that, because we've all probably felt the pain where you type it into ChatGPT and say, create a post in my brand voice, but it doesn't have the context of how you've previously written in the past, how your company writes, and all of that context. So we go through a guide of creating that brand voice at first that's fed into that. But that is for like good content creation in the actual post body itself. But then inside that, you've also pointed out that we're just doing images and carousels. So that in itself is an art, right? Getting an image that doesn't look AI generated, because what we're trying to do is actually replace our manual work, not make it look like AI slop. There's a big difference, and that's where the complexity comes in when you're building this out.
That is the tricky bit, is not having to become AI slop. Because I know that the safest thing to do with creating content systems is, as a content creator, is to have it to be an idea generator. You get the ideas that come on in, and as they come through, you then can shift it out. But then if you try to have it generate and you have no human in the loop, it becomes AI slop, which everybody hates. It's super easy.
Doesn't add value.
Yeah. So then when talking about the carousels, because I know that those are good ways to get to people's attention. Do you have any tips around like carousel generations or things like that?
Yeah, I do. So the way that like we are creating carousels at the moment, like the most important thing for a carousel is consistency. And that's the hardest thing to achieve when you're dealing with an AI image model. So you want the carousels to be consistent in every single image, so it looks like a human has actually created that image. So what we do is we actually find a template that looks really good. So we have a set of base templates that we like. We feed that template into an image model, one image at a time, with a prompt on what each carousel slide should be. And we produce one image at a time. And by feeding in that template and asking it just to edit the original template rather than creating an image from scratch, we're able to generate that consistency across 10, 11, however many slides we want. And again, it's never going to be 100%, but to the human eye, it's 95%, which means that it's no longer in the AI slop section.
Yeah, if it's valuable and it's useful, I think the slop is the definition of it's just not really valuable content and it's just a mess. But if you're saying that, I think one of the most useful things too is if you make something simple to digest and easy to process online with content creation. So if I'm like going to get value from something, how do I easily go through this and find the value? And if you have those little clips inside of there, like the content clips, like this spot, we might clip this out and or have a little section that says how to build carousels, right? So we can go to it easily and find the value. Same thing with the carousels. If it's high value in each one they're going through it, you have this swipiness that feels good for humans, whether it's on TikTok or Minecraft. We like swiping through things. So I get that. And I think that makes a lot of sense. So then you take that and you have a system for getting your brand voice coming in with a template and then shifting that to posting online. Do you have to adjust the posts for each of like the carousels for say LinkedIn versus Instagram, or how does that work?
Yeah, there's like minor tweaks per platform, but what you tend to do is actually use a third-party service, for example, that can connect to multiple platforms if you're looking to speed up the process. So, for example, you could use something like Buffer or Posties, or there's a series of Potato. There's a series of platforms there you can use, but there are minor tweaks in format between them. But what you try to do is you try to build these systems in a very modular way. And the importance there is planning beforehand. You try and build them in a modular way so that actually you only need to make minor tweaks later on. It takes longer to build in that way, but it means that it is actually modular and repeatable and then scalable for other use cases, for example, other platforms.
Makes sense, yeah. And I know if you do it with Potato, then you're going to be on N8N and you have the ability to like repurpose and repost on different channels. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Great. All right, so this is the growth system at a high level: idea generation, content creation, and brand voice, and purpose in line. And that's one way to grow your business, by creating that kind of content. What's another growth system that you like to build?
Yeah, if we're sticking with organic content, it could be something like SEO blogging. So like traditionally, the way you rank in search engine results pages is by having other websites linked to you. So that improves your domain rank if it's like high authority pages linking to your page. But we can also control the terms at which we write about. Google and other search engines recognize that we are an authority on a subject if we've written about a lot of key terms that relate to our particular subject. Somebody visits our page, they stay on our page for a couple of minutes. It shows that we're producing valuable content.
So there's search engine optimization, which I felt was like the original like hacking the algorithm. I think what the original algorithm was how do I get to go top of the page. And now we actually have AI algorithms, and we have not just SEO friendly, we have the LLM friendly or AI friendly. Is there anything that you need to do that are different for the SEO friendly versus, because a lot of people want to have things be searchable in the AI databases like ChatGPT and whatnot. Is there anything that you do differently for those two?
Yeah, it's still a bit of a mystery. Like Google, for example, have never released like the official ways to rank at the top, but people infer it and then see it from the results that they produce. So for ranking on things like ChatGPT, etc., like one of the most common ways at the moment we're seeing is to actually get inside things like organic content elsewhere, like Reddit, for example, but it's ever evolving. So like you're still doing the same techniques, just maybe on different platforms, which is like seeking out intent of users that are trying to find something or do something, and then trying to match that intent to content that they find valuable and will read for a long time. So whether it's on Reddit or our website, the intent is the same. It's just where they're sourcing that information from.
Yeah. It's funny because I ran an AI agency before, and I was like, how'd you find me? And they're like, oh, ChatGPT. I asked them. I was like, thanks, Chat.
You're like, how?
Yeah, I was like, that's amazing. That's what I was curious about. But with this, I've built out some of these systems before as well. And we can talk about like how they work and what this looks like. Well, my other SEO building system. But what does that look like? Are you sourcing new content ideas for ideations? Are you running it through, are you posting on something like a WordPress? Walk me through like this SEO generation systems.
Yeah, so I say SEO generation systems, going back to that level system, is probably on your level 5. You can do it to like a level 1 level, but it actually won't be good enough to rank your content. We have a system in the community, for example, that goes all the way from your keyword ideation. So you input your website URL. It will tell you, these are the keywords you're currently ranking for. These are the keywords we think you should be ranking for based on your content on your website, all the way through to, okay, what topics should we actually write about that form topical clusters. So Google as an authority want to see that you are an authority on a certain topic. And the way they see that is interlinked content. So what we're tending to do is actually write clusters of content, not just isolated topics about a specific keyword. And those clusters of content are all interlinked together. So once we have an understanding of the clusters we want to write about, we understand the user's search intent underneath them. So is it a search intent that's looking to buy a product? If it is, it should lead to something like a product page. Is it search intent where they're earlier in their journey and they want to just understand about what a product is? Then we link them to a page that's relevant for that. So once we have that kind of topical understanding of what we want to write about, we then start actually producing the content. The content is actually quite tricky. So traditionally, you can go to something like ChatGPT or Claude and ask it to write an article about a certain topic, but it's not going to produce an article that's longer than maybe 800 words max. It's not going to have the context of all articles you've written before it to interlink to those articles. It's not going to have context of external links that we can add in to make our content more valuable and the facts there. So all of these things we have to build into the system. And all of those are like isolated challenges that we tackle by building it in a modular way and iterating that system over time. And then it goes all the way through, once you produce that content, to actually publishing it on your WordPress or your Shopify site or your Webflow. At the moment, we've got a few connections there, but this like workflow in total, the reason I say it's level 5 is because actually, for example, our workflow for this is 14 individual workflows that link in together with vector databases for the interlinking, with databases pulling all the stats of your site, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely on the level 5 side.
Yes. Okay. So I built out some of these systems and I built out content generation. But I want to talk about this because this is pretty fun and go back and forth. We're going to get a little technical and then we're going to go through this. So a couple of things. One, when you're building up these SEO systems, what I like about this is that you want to figure out the good practices with this SEO generations. Is not only is it you first do an audit of the keyword search on your webpage. You say, okay, what do I want to rank for? Then when users go through the journey, you want to figure out how I'm trying to link them into more or less a maze, but a productive maze that leads them through the journey of going, okay, is this someone that is on the more of the education learning space or there's buying intent and behavior? If there is, you have a couple of things that raise your domain rankings is, do you have both external and internal linking practices? External linking practices is that Forbes says that 7 out of 10 kids like organic pacifiers or whatever. Here's a link. Internal linking goes, by the way, if you want to know the 7 best tips to put your kid to bed early, I just had a baby, so it's all top of my mind right now. Click here to find out how smart moms do it better. Right. And then that's an internal linking service that links them to another educational piece versus, do you want to talk to a baby nap consultant right now? Click the link and book an appointment with our baby nap consultant. And so you're building out this network of information that then can live on your own application, on your own website, whether it's WordPress or Webflow or whatever it might be, Shopify, that has this inside of there. I think that's all awesome. A couple of other things that I've done is you can also use language models to review it, to extract out the blog, to make the meta information. So you can generate those images. Nice. You can use AI to generate the meta tags that then go on to those images for those links. And then also what you can do is if you feed in your categories in terms of creating tags and categories in the background, you can also say, hey, AI, here's a list of all of my categories that I have available on my blog. To say it's baby services, right? Then you know that this is a prenatal or mommy service or whatever things might be. It can then auto tag those things. So you can go back and forth because the system that I built out, I didn't do a research of the keyword audits, which I think is pretty good use cases. But on the other side of things, being able to do a couple of quick chat things about what you want to talk about, find external links, find internal links, and then generate a big old system that will then automatically post it and then make sure that you're getting that high SEO score. Because if you have a plugin at the end of your website, it will tell you that this is like a 67 out of 100% score, and you're trying to get that number up. So if you use that as a basis, I took that information from the ranking system, extracted that information and then taught the AI agent inside of N8N, hey, this is how you rank high with SEO best practices. You make sure you get the meta tags or anything else you're doing relative to this example.
So it's like reverse engineering, like what looks good into like bite-sized chunks that you can rebuild with the same logic.
Yeah, maybe I'll make that workflow available in the template store gallery. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any workflows in the template flow gallery? Have you put them in?
Yeah, I started with N8N just shy of 2 years ago, and I started producing some maybe around 18 months ago that I put into the workflow library. But like compared to what we've built out now, they're very elementary. But I remember at the time I was blown away with those workflows and what I could do. I think I have one around SEO idea generation as well, actually, the early seed stages of this idea.
I'm telling you, it's a great place to put it up. There's a lot of people that go to the template gallery, and you can actually embed, if you didn't know this, you can embed your YouTube video on the actual workflow.
Yeah.
And then you have this little self-contained educational element that's really highly valuable for anybody that listens or watches the videos and goes through the template. When you're building out workflows and then you look back at your older self from 3, 6, 9, 12 years ago, and you're like, oh man, you're like, there's so much that has happened in that amount of time. But I love this SEO system because a lot of people know that they should make content for their blogs. They just don't want to. And so making this an easier thing, but also highly valuable, it's a really good use case. So
yeah, and it's expensive as well. It's not cheap as a solo founder, for example. You don't want to spend your time writing organic content. You know how valuable it can be. But if you were to write a 5,000 word blog, that's going to take you a week and take away from the core tasks of your business that are going to add other value. So by enabling the automation of that kind of thing, it means you can focus on more important things for you. And you don't have to hire a writer that's going to be very expensive, for example. 100%. You just need to supervise it.
Oh man, I feel bad if I was a writer in this era of content generation. Okay, great. So this is awesome. We talked about social media content creation, and we could go into some more topics in those. But I think what was really good was the carousel information. Understanding the feeded templates was really good. And then also with the system, doing this keyword audit in the beginning, and then feeding it through this backend of these types of systems to make it easy to optimize for whether it's AI or SEO, which is, I'd say, the same thing, ranking systems. Great. What other growth systems have you built out?
Yes, we've built out along the same logic, like more in lines with paid advertising. So another way to acquire customers is doing meta ads. So how can we emulate what other companies or our competitors, the ads that they're doing that are performing well in our brand voice? So what we actually do for this is go to the meta ad library. We see how long our competitors or anyone we want to look at, how long they've been running their ads for, because we can't get direct statistics on how many people have clicked through to their ad or anything like that. We've got to infer it by companies only continue running ads that are profitable for them. So if they've been running it for 90 days, they're either plowing money into it and it's not working, or they're plowing money into it because it is working. So we can infer that actually if they've been running it for a long time, those are good ads. And we can therefore take the structure of good ads. They don't necessarily need to be competitors. They could just be people that are producing great ads. We take the structure of their great ads and work out how that fits into our context, which might be totally different. But then we take that structure and we reproduce the ad all the way through from the post body again to the images, and then we can publish that ad and have the full loop of how is that ad performing versus what we were expecting.
Cool. So let's talk about this. When you're using the extraction of what a good quality ad is, are you using Apify and saying, hey, pull up keywords in roofing construction? And then it's going to pull up all the keyword ads in roofing construction that is extracted by Apify. And then on the side, you can see how long this has been run for, the date of that. And then you're selecting ones that have the longest run rates.
Exactly that. Or if you have competitors in mind, you can search by them directly.
Nice. Do you use Apify to scrape the meta database? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. You use Apify.
Cool. And
Apify.
I love Apify too. Pro tip for people is you never want to use the services from Apify that are X amount a month. You want X amount of uses. So you don't want to pay the $20, $30 a month for the scraper services. You want the one that's $1 per 1,000 uses. Otherwise,
So much cheaper.
Yeah,
So much cheaper.
You get rocked by expenses.
But also you get the $5 a month free with every Appify account. So that actually goes a long way.
I got in trouble with that because I was doing cold email campaigns and I had 10 different emails of mine. And so I was just hop swapping between the 5. Okay. And then I got flagged. Somehow they flagged me and then that didn't work out well.
Now you're a paying member for life.
Yeah, man. Come on, Appify, hook it up. But yeah, okay. So this is great. Talking about the Appify actors, and I can talk about the one that I've used before for the meta ads. But when you do that, so let's just say you get the ad, right? And you start to pull up that ad. Are you using AI to analyze that ad, or how do you break down the components of that ad?
Yeah, so it's a combination of human supervision and AI. So we want AI to do the grunt work. We are using AI to understand the structure of why that ad might have performed well, why that ad is still running versus other ads they've tried. So yeah, we're effectively pulling a couple of things. We're pulling the text from the ad, but we're also extracting the text from the images of the ad as well. So we're not only analyzing the post body, because it might be the image asset or the video asset that's performing well. So we're getting a transcript of the video. We're getting any text using an OCR model off of the images. And we're putting all of that into AI to say, why might this ad be performing well? What can we emulate in our structure?
Are these video ads? Are they image ads or?
All of the above. So they could be carousel ads, image ads, or video ads.
With the video, do you not run it into like any type of AI for video analysis? Or is it just like, you just like pulling out the elements? Are you analyzing the video somehow with AI?
We are pulling the transcript mostly from AI rather than analyzing the video itself. So we're just understanding key messaging. And the reason we're doing that, you could do both, is that actually we just want to understand the underlying message and the structure. We don't necessarily need to understand what they're showing on screen or anything like that. It's like, what message are they trying to get across to the audience? And how could we do that for our use case? So it's like contextualizing their message with our brand and what we're trying to sell.
That's cool. Yeah, I haven't tried it yet for the ad analyzation to pull the ads. I haven't done that other piece of it. What's interesting is I wonder, there's these image analyzers. If you get the text transcript, you can also figure out the hook. Sometimes people have random hooks though of, I don't know, like a duck falling from the sky. And that's like the hook. And it jumps from that into getting your attention. So it's like a non sequitur kind of hook that may not be transcript. But I could see how the transcript would be useful. Okay, so you're doing that, and so you say we're going to pull out some of the images, and you pull out the transcript, and then you slice it all together with some human supervision. And say, okay, here's what we need to do. In terms of producing that content, are you then going to say feed that out to, let's say, one of your clients, and say you need to start with this hook. Here's the transcript. Here's the body. You record it, or you're using AI to create the ad. What part is human creation of the ad versus what part is not?
Yeah, so all of these systems that we're building, we're aiming to have human supervision, not necessarily human creation, but we always want to be able to allow the human to input their own ideas as well. So it's like human supervision. AI does the grunt work, but also can allow for AI revision with the human supervision, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like from my experience trying to build out systems where it does it without my input, you can like very quickly end up with that AI slop that we were talking about earlier. So actually having those touch points means that we can have somebody work at a much higher leverage and much higher rate when they're supervising at certain key stages.
Sure.
And that depends on the process you're doing, but we just try and build in those human supervision steps.
Sure. The question though I have is with the ads, if the ads are video ads, but you're not having humans in the loop, are you creating AI video ads?
Not currently. What we're doing is putting out a transcript of the notes they probably want to say in the video.
Got it.
And then actually
kick it to the human.
Yeah. But we have been exploring things like UGC platforms where we can actually give that script to a UGC actor and have them act it out. That's certainly possible. But with the brands that we are working with so far, it's mainly been image ads or transcripts for those video ads.
Yeah. The humans is a better touch. I've been playing around with trying to get like VO3 and trying to split out multiple different scenes of 8-second clips and then stitch them all together and be able to have that into one piece of content creation to see, can I make a high quality, consistent video that is a minute and a half long through a series of 8-second videos. And so I'm in the middle of the process of setting that up right now, just playing with it to see what I can get.
Okay, nice.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, it's one of the toughest challenges, getting that character consistency, because an 8-second clip is not enough. You need 60 seconds or so. Trying to push that across a whole scene. Yeah, challenging.
Yeah, if somebody wants to start a business, if they want to take basically VO3 or any of the high level models and just make a SaaS application that allows people to just output multiple minute long videos by doing this thing, I think it's a valid idea for anybody that wants to run with that.
I would totally pay for that too.
Me too. Comment down below if you doing that.
Please, if you're building this, comment down below.
Let us know. We don't want to do it. Somebody else do it. All right. So we talked about this. We talked about the ad generations and the analyzation. So you're creating this whole loop. I want to put one last piece on this before we shift to the topic. When you analyze the performance of your video, what are you doing on the innate inside? Are you just looking at on the front side when you're scraping, you just say this is the duration. But if you're paying for your own ads, you have more analytics. What are you using in terms of analyzing? Is this profitable? What does this look like? Are you doing any AI? Is there a ROAS there? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's mainly just pulling the data from our own ads platform. So going into the Meta ads platform, pulling what is the ROAS, how many clicks have we got, how much have we spent, all of that kind of data. And actually, most of the time we're using NAN, and then maybe having a little front end like Airtable, something that you can use for free, and just displaying that on an Airtable. So we tend to hook up the systems, have the back end in NAN, some sort of interface inside Airtable, and then, they work together in parallel like that.
So, there is things we haven't touched on that other people have explored and I've played with, and we'll talk a little bit about growth systems, and we're going to switch over to imposter syndrome, just the ones that I know of that have done, right? There's cold email systems for growth. You can do as well. They're easy. I'd say there's art and science to them, right? The science of it is the ability to make systems. It's getting people to convert is one of the hardest platforms to get people to convert on, because it's a complete cold audience that didn't raise said they're not into these types of things. All right, so that's that. Other ones that we didn't really touch on entirely is, I think you probably do this to some degree, is the lead magnet generations that are inside of, say, whether it's Instagram or inside of LinkedIn. So you have you have the social media content creation, which is like, hey, I'm making something cool, comment this down below. And then you have this ability when someone comments in to then engage with them by giving them a template or some other thing. I don't know if you've done any of those like automatic DM follow-up sequences from social media at all.
Yeah, it's something we're actually building right now, which is the LinkedIn auto DMs. So we have a lot of like scrapers, like lead generations, where you have a warm platform like LinkedIn, where people are liking your posts or commenting on your posts, they're usually highly engaged leads. So rather than going through something like cold email, you'd rather target somebody who's already connected to your brand in some way or your person in some way. So what you can do is when they like or comment, you can see that they've liked or comment by scraping that on Appify. And then actually you can auto DM them on LinkedIn. Now it's a bit of a tricky use case, because actually what you don't want to be doing is say you've got 1,000 likes, you don't want to be firing 1,000 messages in 10 seconds to people on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is really hot on blocking people for automation. So you've got to be really careful with the way that you approach this. And the way that we approach that is actually just emulating human behavior. So we just reverse engineer, what would I do as a human? So if I had 100 people like my post, maybe on day one, I contact 10 of those people, and I don't contact them all in the same second. I contact them sporadically throughout the day. So every day we're contacting 10 people who have liked that post with just a short message that doesn't look like AI slop. It's just a very friendly, hey, saw you liked my post. If you're interested in getting more info, here's a link or something like that, right? Or asking them a question to get a response back. But doing it with it in mind that you should act like you are a human and not a bot there.
Yeah. And that's the point. There's a game of cat and mouse, and LinkedIn harvests the most data humanly possible. And they're the ones that are, if you look at, I've used Unipile as a way of automating the systems on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You just got to take a look at if you're a pro count user or not a user, and then how much you can actually throttle the system in terms of usage.
Yeah.
200 invites a week, 20 a day, something like that on the pro count if you pay for Sales Navigator. And so,
which is quite limited in the grand scheme of things. So you've got to be really careful. And that's if you're a paying user as well, right? You're paying to actually contact people and you still get limited to 200 a week.
Yeah. And one of the things that we built out here internally is I built out a version of that LinkedIn outreach system for meetup events. And so people that were local in the area that said, hey, they're into N8N. I'm like, hey, putting on an N8N event in your area, you seem to like it. You want to go? And so that's been a pretty good thing because people have previously raised their hands and said, hey, we're into this kind of stuff. And go, if you're into this stuff and we're having an event, you should come to the event. You know,
what was the success like of that, by the way? Was it good? Did it convert a lot of people?
It was pretty good. It was, say, 10, 20% of the people like that raised their hands that said they were into it. But you got on the grand scale of things, if you're talking 20 invites a day, then you can do something a week, it can add up. It's pretty good. But getting people from the online space into an in-person space, there's always going to be a pretty big trickle drop off. But it's good. You build the system out and then it's pretty helpful.
And I guess you don't have to focus your time on doing that. It's just doing it in the background.
That's the point of automation.
There we go. We've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. So let's shift gears here and talk a bit of this imposter syndrome, right? Whether or not I realize that imposter syndrome is very rarely associated with my actual skill and competency level. It's just a thing that kind of comes up. So talk to me about how you've experienced imposter syndrome or people in your group, and then what does it look like to overcome that or actually perform even though you have it?
Yeah, so I guess to summarize for those that don't know of what imposter syndrome actually is, it's a fear that you don't belong or you're not good enough to perform an action, right? So we'll all have come across this fear in our lives, me a lot of times in my life. And I can remember vividly when I was working as a head of operations in a startup, I was put into this group of COOs and we had a weekly meetup of COOs. And I just felt like, there's no way I can be with this audience because I'm way more junior than them. I'm way younger and all of these kind of things. And that is the definition of imposter syndrome. I felt like I didn't belong, even though I'm perfectly adequate to do. So I see all the time with community members, with people commenting on YouTube, where they come from a background that's not necessarily technical. So they might have heard of the term no code, but they might have never used any no code platforms. Or they've heard of code, but they don't want to touch it because they've always been in marketing or sales and they've never touched anything more than kind of Excel. But the way that I've personally overcome imposter syndrome in the past, and I see and others actively doing it on a day-to-day basis in the community, is actually just consistency through action. For example, when I started N8N, I didn't feel good enough to actually go out and start selling services to other businesses around N8N. But I was 2-3 weeks into my journey on N8N tutorials and all of that, going through templates, learning the basics, etc. And I decided just to put myself out there. I went to Upwork. I saw what was available in terms of the active jobs on Upwork, and it was much fewer than it is now around N8N specifically. And I just started applying for them. I just thought, you know what, I can, as long as I'm better than the person who's actually hiring me at this thing, then I'm good enough. That was my mindset going into it. And I just took that with a pinch of salt, carried on applying for things. And eventually, it didn't even take that long, maybe 15, 20 applications. I had a response back. I got on a call with somebody who then had enough trust in me as a person to get through that. I hadn't used half the tech stack that they were using. I had never used Airtable before, but I just had faith and confidence in myself that if I just go away and actually learn that software and spend a little bit of time with it, then I can actually beat that imposter syndrome, and I am good enough. And I see it all the time in the community where people don't believe in themselves, and then they start actually performing actions over a series of months, and then they get there, and then months later, they're looking back going, wow, I thought I was non-technical, but here I am. I've produced like 6 workflows inside N8N, and I've saved X number of hours every week in my business.
Yeah, that data stack, when you start to build confidence through reps, one of those things, there's a lag effect. If you look in the mirror's not going to smile first. You got to be the first one to smile before the mirror smiles back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And if you say, okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable, I feel like an imposter, I don't know if I can actually sell these services. If you go on Upwork or any other place and you say, hey, can I do this for you? And The typical rate is, I'm making it up, $1,000, and I'm going to do it for $10 in a ham sandwich, right? Just to get those reps in. And then you get that in, you get more confidence, and then as more confidence goes in, then you feel your time is valuable, and then you can start to charge more and build things over time. But you have to be willing to like, okay, I'm going to be really uncomfortable. And also what's helpful too is if you do have any friends that are maybe more technical than you, you're like, okay, I maybe can't solve this, but I'm going to call Simon up, who I know is more technical than me. And I'm going to ask him, hey man, how do I solve these issues? And you know that you at least have a support group to help you with that identity as you shift through the company.
Totally. And it's easier now than ever to get that support, because actually you can just go to things like ChatGPT. It's not perfect, but actually you can get 80% of answers in ChatGPT that can help push you in the right direction of the research you need to go and do.
Yeah, it will get you there, and it'll get you moving, and enough to get, I would say, confident of what am I doing? What do I need to solve? And then figure out that half of the issue is like, okay, how do I even approach this problem? What APIs are available? What's Appify?
Yeah.
How do I get places? And then you start to learn those patterns, right? And you could tell, like, when me and you're talking about, say, SEO, right? We both have reps in the whole SEO space. Because we had to do it, and we know how many hours someone's clocked in on trying to solve this type of problem. And then you're like, someone's like, oh, I have an SEO problem. Oh, no problem. But you have to solve enough of the same problems, different problems in space, where you then become a generalized expert of a category like growth systems.
Yeah, totally agree. It's funny also you mentioned working for a ham sandwich, because that first client I did, right, I was so unconfident in that I was like, this guy's asking for $10. I'll just do it for $10. Took me 12 hours and I ended up making minus $6 on the thing. So I actually made a loss, 12 hours wasted time, or not wasted because I learned a lot, and minus $6 was the outcome. But what the actual outcome was, I learned a new system. I'd done a whole bunch of new things, and I got a new sense of confidence that actually, I've done one, how hard could the next be? And it's just taking that little by little.
It's a great way to say, okay, there's got to be a number that will allow me to accomplish this job. And then the question is like, how much do you want those reps? And my strategy was asking for friends, but you could say, hey man, I'm happy to build this for you. But you can go the other direction and say, I'll give you $5. Let me build this for you.
Yeah, I'll literally pay you. Just let me build it.
Give me some reps. But that's the thing, you have these things, and then you start to learn. And one of the things that I've noticed too, especially when you get more competent in the technical areas, is that I like working with like Lovable and N8N. And there's been some times that like, I can't solve a thing in Lovable trying to vibe code it. Like I was trying to do this whole like Whoop API thing. I was bringing some health data for my personal things.
Oh yeah.
And it wouldn't solve it. It couldn't do the credentials. I was like, ugh. So I went and built it out in N8N, built the credentials, and then built the gateway and said, hey, look, Lovable, I don't want you to worry about this other stuff. Just go to my N8N stuff. I've already got a solution architected out for you, because sometimes the AI can't solve it for you. And if you get enough of these technical chops over time, I mean, back in the day, I used to run a food business, right? And then I jumped from that into high tech work and then other things. So if I can learn it, you can learn it. Simon can learn it. We can all learn it. It just takes reps and time.
It does. And having the confidence to take that first rep as well. A lot of people struggle with just being like, oh, I'm very scared to get started. We're all scared when we get started. You've just got to take that first little step and then ask for help after that.
Simon, it's been awesome having you on the show. Is there anything else you'd like to let people know about before you tell them how to get a hold of you?
I think just don't forget that actually you are good enough. I think like everyone starts with this idea that we can't achieve something, but actually like a year later or 2 years later, after I've been putting in consistent reps, I've built my entire business around N8N. So if I can do it, you can do it too.
Love it. And if people want to find more about you and what you do, where do they go?
Yeah, you can head to YouTube and just type in Simon Scrapes, and I'm there, and you can see the community on there as well, school.com/scrapes.
Simon, honor and pleasure, my friend. Much love, and I will see you on the other side.
Likewise. Thanks so much, Dylan.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.